This video is brought to you by Alienware, featuring Intel Core i7 processors. Start gaming.
So, late last week, DICE added a new custom game into the mix for Battlefield 1. And it was pretty much exactly what people had been crying out for since the game launched. It embodied the style of my trench warfare server, and people loved it over there, and now DICE have brought that experience to the masses. Everyone is going back to basics, and genuinely, I think it is currently the best game mode that Battlefield 1 has to offer. Just to clear a few things up first, this video is sponsored by Alienware. I'm using their brand new AW15 laptop for all of this gameplay, and you can see the FPS counter in the top left corner there. It's an i7 processor, 16GB of RAM, and a GTX 1060 graphics card, all topped off with a 1080p 120Hz display on a laptop. Everything here is set to Ultra. The only thing I've turned off is the motion blur, so this is the best Battlefield 1 can look at 1080p, and the laptop is just eating it up. If you want to find out more about the AW15 laptop, there's a link down in the description that will take you to the Alienware website, and I've also linked my review of the AW15 laptop there as well, if you want to go and check it out. The second thing, the settings for Back to Basics. I want to let you guys know what they are before we start, so you can have a general understanding of the gameplay in the background. What have DICE changed from the standard rule set to make this thing different? Well, first of all, it'd probably be easier for me to tell you what they've left in, as opposed to what they've actually turned off. But in essence, it's 64-player Conquest on a 5-map rotation. That's Amiens, Sinai Desert, Empire's Edge, Mont Grappa, and Giant Shadow, with only standard issue rifles available as your primary weapon. So no SMGs, no shotguns, no LMGs, no semi-auto rifles, or no scoped bolt actions, just plain bolt action rifles with iron sights. Pistols are of course available along with melee weapons, but the heavy ground and air vehicles have been disabled, and the elite classes are gone as well. Basically, it's 64-player Conquest, bolt action rifle warfare. The stereotypical vision of World War I combat. This is almost exactly the same thing that I created for my trench warfare server that I had running over Christmas, only this time we're playing Conquest. And really, it is one of the best experiences that you can get right now in Battlefield 1. I've got a few reasons as to why, and I'll explain those for you now. First of all, because all variety in primary weapons has basically been thrown out of the window, and you're forced to just use the standard issue rifle of the faction that you're playing as, the class balance gets changed up a little bit here. Now, you'd expect people to care even less about which class they run, because you're all just using the same rifle anyway, it doesn't really matter that much. But you'd be wrong. There's an even bigger reliance now on the class that you choose. If you run as the Assault class, you've got access to your explosive gadgets, except you've got no vehicles to aim for. Wrong again. The mode still gives out light transport vehicles, and that allows squads to get around the map very quickly. As Assault, your focus shifts from taking down tanks to stopping the enemy making a quick move across the map to take another objective. If you play as Medic, you obviously still need to dish out that health as much as you can, but your role, if it was even possible, becomes even more precious. The bolt action rifles hit extremely hard and can bring your teammates crashing to the ground a whole lot quicker. You need to be there picking them up again. Not only that, but healing yourself from those powerful hits is important too. If you're the only medic in your squad and you die, it's not likely somebody's going to be picking you up again. Support players, you'll be resupplying like there's literally no tomorrow, and Scout, your flare gun, will light up objectives and give the rest of your team some idea as to where the enemy is. Now those 4 roles, although they haven't changed that much from their standard in normal servers, here in Back to Basics, it really implies that you have to work together. If you join a squad that doesn't have a medic in it, well, good luck staying alive, because bullets will be coming at you from everywhere. They're not SMG bullets that will do 15 damage at long range. They're bolt action bullets that will do a minimum of about 60 damage to the body. If you've not got a support player in your squad, then ammo replenishing is going to be very few and far between, so you better make sure that the shots you fire are counting. All the classes have their strengths and weaknesses, but here in Back to Basics, it exposes those weaknesses more so than it does in standard servers, and you really do need to work with your squad and utilise their advantages to keep on top of the enemy. Secondly, the bolt-action rifles themselves. Because you're forced to use them and their accompanying iron sights, you need to get familiar with how they work. Each of them still has their own balanced statistics, and some have advantages and others have disadvantages. For example, when you're playing on the Giant Shadow map, it's the British versus the German Empire, so it's Lee Enfield rifles versus Gewehr 98 rifles. The Lee Enfield has a higher internal magazine count and a closer range sweet spot, but the Gewehr 98 has a higher bullet velocity and more forgiving iron sights. Depending on which faction you're on, you're going to need to work out the rifle you're given and then play to its strengths. On top of that, you've got 63 other people on the server using a bolt-action rifle as well, with iron sights. That puts everyone on a level playing field. In normal servers, someone who isn't too confident with their aiming might simply choose a trench variant SMG, take advantage of that increased hipfire accuracy, something like the MP18 or the Automatico, and just rip people to shreds at close range. Here in Back to Basics, that's not gonna happen. Your aim with those iron sights is your greatest weapon, and only having one round to fire before rechambering another, that pushes the skill ceiling up even further. Someone with good aim might choose to run with the medic class. That allows them to pick people off, rush in and rescue a dying teammate, provide some health or a revive, and then get out and move on to scout out the next target. Someone who's not so confident might find it easier to run as the support class, allowing them to perhaps take more of a back seat, there to provide the ammunition and some covering fire if it's needed, whilst the other guys finish off enemies and allowing the team to move up. Those bolt-action rifles, and because you're on a level playing field, that brings the advantages and the disadvantages of each class all together, and some people might choose to exploit some of the better classes with bolt-action rifles, and others might be more comfortable playing a passive role. And another point I'd like to make, actually, probably the reason why I like Back to Basics just so much, this game mode highlights how good the feedback loop is for bolt-action rifles in Battlefield 1. If you can string a few kills together here in this game mode, the sound of the kill, the scream of the enemy, and the flow of the animations really does give you an awesome feeling. Perhaps one of the biggest improvements DICE made from the move from Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1 is the satisfaction that the game provides to you when you achieve something. Battlefield 4 now feels very robotic, almost dull. Battlefield 1 is punchy, it's vibrant, and it eggs you on to go and do more of whatever it is that you just did. The bolt-action rifle gameplay in Battlefield 1 was already very, very good, but remove the scopes and bring it down to the raw infantry combat with those iron sights, and it's almost FPS perfection. If there were any improvements that I could suggest for Back to Basics though, it would be to provide some rush servers for people to play on, change up that objective style and gameplay pace a little bit, but keep all of the settings for the server exactly the same, and also add some more maps into the rotation. Right now we have the Germans versus the British on Amiens and Giant Shadow, we've got the Ottomans versus the British on Sinai Desert, and the Italians versus the Austro-Hungarians on Mont Grappa and Empire's Edge. Now I'd like to see Ballroom Blitz and Argonne Forest added in as well, so the American Expeditionary Force can come in with their 1903 Springfield rifle, against the Germans with their Gewehr 98. Especially on Argonne Forest, that could make for some really awesome fun. Oh, and one final thing actually, How about some operation servers running the back to basics rules? 32 versus 32 frontline combat, all fighting with bolt action rifles. That could just be the best game mode ever. Thanks very much for watching. Let me know what you think of Back to Basics down below in the comments section. I'm really interested to know what you think about it. Don't forget to check out the Alienware AW15 laptop either. There's a link to the product page down in the description for you, and also a link to my review of the laptop as well. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.